November 13th, 2019. Jerome Powell testified before Congress today. Right off the bat, he talks about being transparent and making sure that average Americans understand what the Federal Reserve, not only what they're saying, but what they're doing, which is a complete fallacy. Because if you read Modern Monetary Mechanics, it's a ongoing paper by the Chicago Fed. It's abstract. They use Fed speak. They use all these terms that are hard to grasp. It took me a couple months to really understand what they were doing in this literature. But Jerome Powell, he emphasized that along with the Federal Reserve's mandate, which is stable prices and full employment or low unemployment, right? First thing, why are we emphasizing jobs, right? They always talk about low unemployment, this, that, and the third. When in reality, I don't think nobody wants an actual job. People want goods and services, right? You don't go to work because you want to go to work. You go to work because you get compensated and you get a medium of exchange, which is U.S. Federal Reserve notes, and you use these notes to in your everyday lives for things that you need. Before the Fed, we had national banking, but we also had free banking in the form of silver certificates. Banks issued silver and gold certificates, which were redeemable in species. Before 1964, we had silver actually in coinage, but they're always going to talk about employment. Let's have people working, right? And with Christine Lagarde, same thing. She talks about having, who cares about savings? Let's care about employment. Let's put people to work, right? And I think that's looking at things the other way around. We should talk about having, goods and services that everybody wants, right? For example, I have a great Singer sewing machine, model 1910. Actually, this one was made before electricity was available. In the second chapter of Frederick Engels and Karl Marx's book, The Communist Manifesto is proletariat and communist. And if we read on, there's 10 steps that they have for, converting a capitalist society or a individual, emphasis on the individual society, to a more centralized plan, and emphasis on the collective, emphasis on the state. Number 5 on the Communist Manifesto's transition is centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of national bank with set state capital and an exclusive monopoly. So right now the capital or the medium of exchange is in the hands of the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is a private entity with member banks and private shareholders that receive dividends quarterly, yearly, whatever the case may be. So to that point, they haven't achieved it. They haven't achieved their fifth tenet, but it's a transition. These guys are go hand in hand as far as government and the banks through the bond market and through issuance of Federal Reserve notes. The reason why they do this is because they don't like They don't like people thinking for themselves, right? For example, these TARP programs or the repo debacle, or these repo contracts that are issued out overnight, 14 days at the most. A lot of people don't realize that this is wild malinvestment. This is money's going into, like AGNC investment group. The quietly it's being funneled again. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon coined by Mises. So what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Squad, Bernie Sanders, all the social democrats won't acknowledge is that they need the bankers, they need the Federal Reserve to implement their policies. Because if we had free banking in this country where people could use whatever medium of exchange that they'll like, historically for about 6,000 years, it's been gold and silver. Silver more for the working class or the average day individual. The reason why they hate gold and silver is because you cannot manipulate it. You can't create gold and silver out of thin air. So 1963, 1971, Richard Nixon depegged the U.S. dollar from gold. Initially what he said was, this isn't permanent, we're going to go back on the gold standard at some point in time, and he never did, right? And now we have Jerome Powell saying that these repo contracts are just temporary, they're just trying to ease liquidity, things like that. And they're saying it's not quantitative easing, even though that it's substantially more amount of capital being created than quantitative easing was. Around $40 billion for QE, and it's about $60 to $120 billion a day in overnight repo contracts. So they're saying it's not QE, but it's much, much worse than that. So again, I think you guys should get some gold, some silver, because these things cannot be manipulated by central bankers. I will have my details at the bottom if you guys want to reach out to me if you live in the Los Angeles area. I will get you the best price for pneumatic and semi-pneumatic. Junk silver will get you great piece of great silver to get is actually like mercury dimes. Anything before 1964, 65, for example, half dollars, quarters, dimes. Those are 90% silver. Those constitutional money. Every American should know about this. And so I'm gonna have my details at the bottom. We can meet up. I'll have my details. Reach out to me if you guys are interested in getting some gold and silver in your portfolio. But Austrian Hispanic here signing out for November 13th.